dreaming. It's never going to be happening.
You're a dreamer.
But we're getting quite close.
You've got a lot of clouds in your head.
We're getting quite close, Emmy, to a full 5-way. Actually, 5-way is impossible. 4-way, 15-point tiebreak. I calculated that quickly. You got to be
it's too much calculation.
At least proud a little bit.
I am. I have some pride in you.
Thank you. Just some.
Yeah, I have enough. I have enough pride in you. And I guess now we've got to see who has the pride out of this. A showdown. Heroic. At one point it was yours. And then it sort of drifted over the past 3 play days further and further away from being yours. It's not been a good end. It's that sort of thing that happens to a lot of EUL teams. And it's happened to Wolves. It's happened to Rogue. Is it now Heroic's chance to be at the top and then down to the bottom?
Only time will tell. But they started off the stage, you said it. 7-2 win against Pones. 7-5 win against BDS. After that, an 8-6 victory over M&M. And at that point, everybody's like, okay, they are basically going to Berlin. We can almost tell you that and guarantee you that already. Then they came up against the Wolves, and we're like, that's a 50-50, right? Number 1 team against the number 2 team back then. That could be going either way. Just no harm in this game. If you win it, great. If you lose it, it happens. They lost it with a 4-7. After that against Secret, we were like, okay, that's surely going to be a 3-pointer, right? They ended up with just 1, 8-7 victory of Secret. They finally managed to recover themselves over Outsiders with that 4-7 victory. But they need more. They need, like, even if they win now, they won't be confirmed because of G2 that have managed to get close, because of BDS that suddenly find themselves within striking distance, and with M&M still being in the mix as well.
Now, what makes this an underdog day? Maybe the fact that 3 of the 4 games have gone to the underdog, and not even a sort of slight decisive difference of a couple of rounds, but it's the fact that it's the 9th and 10th team that cannot make it, taking out the 1st and the 2nd team. It has been that bit of back and forth, and now it's Navi's chance to try and keep that alive. Heroic, they're still dancing on the precipice. M&M, they fell a bit short earlier on today, and they're still not confirmed, but are only 1 round separated, so all eyes are still on Heroic, and all eyes are on this game, as Navi is a team that is chasing hot on the hails, and with the success of G2 and BDS, a lot could come down to this cafe. Rather than leave it up to that final play day, you need to keep that buffer and that distance. It starts here. Instantly driving themselves through. Ben just seen an open walk-through onto the site itself. There's a hole above that's getting pinged. There is a player opening up the angle right now. They want to bounce a grenade. That's going to give the game away. They're going for the fast push. They're getting some width. They're getting that shotgun hole around the corner. There's the bounce. There's the throw. Misses the player, but that will be the call. Hey, we need to have some eyes on this bakery.
He's definitely going to be looking out for that one now. Gorgona, of course, with that Maverick, wanted to open up, but I realized there's nothing really there. So Uno will be moving in with the exothermic, opening up that very long angle, which you can now use to get rid of default positions. More verticalities, though, are being pinged, are being called out. Make the team aware of where they can be, so no surprises will strike you once you do decide to finally push into the site.
A bit of a slip and a rotate round on the bottom of Red stairs. They have some pressure. They might be able to swing around, and well, actually they pulled themselves and tucked a little bit further up the staircase itself. The pressure comes through into Coat. They don't have the cross angle, but they do have the first kill. Skitty locks down Gorgona, gets the swing and gets the first blow. Sort of paints the flag that we are watching. It may feel like the side itself is a little bit empty, but we have some sort of clarity of mind. We also have Blur. Jumps his way out from the dining window. Yak's able to get one, and Heroic, they moved quick, they stalled, and now they're being sent back to the garage. Hopped out the window, tried to get themselves a bit recovered. Ben just looking for an engagement down the long corridor. At this point, with a minute left and 3 dead, Navi have really sort of locked the door.
Yeah, they definitely have shut them down here. The diffuser's still on the board, on the ground. Grizzly gets the jump out. A second one attempted at him, but he's just not able to actually capitalize on the opportunity. So will be pushed back ever so slightly. It's Blur that's looking to go a bit more aggressive, but not truly in a position to do so right now. Time slowly dwindling away. Benja goes for the jump in. It's Skitty that has the pre-fire out there. Is actually going to stop him from moving in. A flashbang of Grizzly will make sure he's not going on the chase, but there's only one true way in, and it's through the prep entrance or through the massive hole they've created into the bakery wall, both of which will be watched.
It's a weird first round. It started off to give the idea that Heroic were going to do one of their sort of patented fast play rushes where they throw themselves into sight and build some momentum. Then it stalled and stopped, and then, well, this. Locked out by Navi's hold, they had themselves the width and the stretch to be able to just buffer them off, and Grizzlies left sort of sat there talking to them and saying, what do we do on the pick back round? They're trying to throw themselves out of every window. But first round, Navi's.
Shows how Navi wants to treat this, right? They want to be aggressive. They want to show that they have a shot at the major as well, because it is not over for them yet. They are still very much in this, because if they take the win now, they'll be on 12 points. So is BDS, so will Heroic, so will G2. 4 teams on 12. Now M&M will have those 3 points clear of everybody.
They do.
Not completely in the clear yet. Could still be overtaken based on round differential because they only have a +3. And if they lose, that will go down even further. But Navi next week will be playing Rogue, who have already qualified. Heroic play G2, who are both fighting for that spot. So Navi could be that, you know, third dog stealing the bone.
It's the strange thing about this double setup of games for Navi is this showdown against Heroic and the next showdown against Rogue, at the beginning of the day, both massively tough. Now Rogue have qualified. That adds a couple of asterisks to that last game. I mean, Wolves were qualified and played BDS today, and, you know, they put in a fight, but it wasn't the same level. There wasn't the same intensity that we've seen, because at this point, there'll be a lot on the plate. There'll be a lot of thought going, and Berlin is a couple of weeks away with how EUL is structured. It could be a similar story for Navi. This might, weirdly, be the tougher game. So if they can do the distance here, suddenly...
So they might find themselves there on the major stage in Berlin. Now, it's quite early. We only have 1 round, and I know we're theorizing, but we're just throwing out the stories that could start to develop here. As we continue throughout the game here today and throughout next month, there's 2 magnets just right on top of each other.
It's not going to work too great.
If it's flashbangs, it'll be just fine, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
But the grenade will just destroy both.
Well, let's see if they can get the lockdown here. Heroic, slower on the approach into the building itself. Going to see if they can take their time and try and isolate some of these players. Do they know how close Blur is? Well, they're probably going to find out in just a second. Zora Sliver, this flash is going to hit him and affect him. He's going to tuck in, goes for the swing and the spray, doesn't get the connection and tries to get out of that blind, but Benja tucks himself down. It was a very risky play that just missed out on netting a bit of a reward, hoping there was only 1 person on that window. Unfortunately, turns out against him. They get that opener. They get their first for the game itself on the second round. Let's see if they can capitalize.
Yeah, for sure, and that's the entry that they will need as well. Blur has a massive clutch factor on the side of Navi, so taking him out first, and I have to say, he almost managed to escape through the hatch completely blind, by the way. That's the amount of map knowledge these players have. Nave might be the next problem, but I believe he just got droned. And indeed, as the drone is starting to fall back, they are aware of his position. But as he drops down, he has a nitro cell in pocket that could be absolutely detrimental to the attack right here if he manages to find the right moment to strike.
That's it. He's checking that he's not on a flank drone, maybe giving himself the impression that he might be able to do something sneaky, but the C4 is a big bit of utility, and they have an opener just underneath that on the approach itself. So whether Nath can pocket something as the pressure, or whether that's an angle that might work against him, time will tell. They're steady in. They have their lockdown. The player stacked up on Cigar Door. They're watching any of the angles, the swing round from the freezer, and there's the heavy hitting rifle around 90, but Nath, as the Jaws music starts to kick in, he's looking for anything that might catch him. That drone is inactive, but he sure isn't. Finds one, gets the drone for later and pops out of there. Sloth suffers at the same time. Another fight across the bow of the site happened. There was a 2-factor approach there from Navi, and suddenly, 20 seconds, they've got to try and push towards the site. Benja with the double, 1 gun, 1 frag. Nate's got to make a little bit of a hot foot back towards the white stairs by the looks of it, or he might try and find the planter underneath. He still has that C4. It's down to Yak. Yak pops up, gets one. There's Benja with a triple. Suddenly it's just Yak. But Gorgona comes around the corner, 1 apiece.
Benja with a huge round there, tossed in that grenade onto the back of the planks. At the very same time, a Rooney suddenly jumped over from the bathroom side. He managed to pick up that kill as well, and eventually finding the third. Heroic find a round. 1-1. Up to reading room and fireplace we go. And they need to continue that, because Heroic as well, they made it to the Charlotte Major. You know, they had some struggles with travel, I think we can call it. Some
they
light
were tested.
struggles. They were tested.
They were tested.
Their patience was tested.
Yeah.
It wasn't the most pleasant experience, so I think they'll be very happy to go to another major, and this time it being in Europe. But as we talk about the qualifying probabilities made by Sprabuni and Rav, you see here for NAVI, they need a regulation win to stay in it. 3 points. Whereas Heroic, well, if they lose this in regular time, they'll be tied up. Still 40%. But any point they gain is going to be massively increasing that percentage. Not to a point where they can be completely confirmed yet today, though, because all the other games have been played out. Round differential is, of course, always taking place as well. And they're just not in a good enough spot to make sure they could cover this off. Now, if they had plus 16 round differential and they would win this game, they would be confirmed. But since they are currently on a total of plus 4, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, they've been decisive and decisively pushed apart. There's been close matches. It hasn't been the sort of hefty Heroic or the run that we've had. So there's still fight to be had. Oh boy, if things aren't settled until the last Playday, to be honest, from my perspective as a viewer, that's a lot of fun. Probably not for the stress of the players. The approach comes over the top hatches, the control of red, another sort of more standard, more traditional take here from Heroic as they get their eyes in across the prize. They're looking for control of this, the backline, pillars, and if they can get it the full vertical to see if they can try and tuck a plant onto reading is the most traditional. But Benja, once again, creeping and crouching on the far side, has obviously the ability to put some pace here down, especially with the sledgehammer. Maybe we're about to get something to spring a trap here, but they're a little bit cautious.
They're listening, they're looking, they're afraid there's some piece of utility somewhere that is giving them a clue of what's going on. Or if there's someone below on those staircases, listening in as well. And they're wasting some time as a result of it, whereas Grizzly's continuing with that drone, trying to see how much utility exactly he can destroy before he loses his drone. Now, Sloth quickly trying to push in as well. They're looking to keep their options open. Make sure you work on the A side, make sure you work on the B side, just so you can make that late round decision of where exactly will we plant.
Benja's been able to get himself into pillars. Nace got himself into the head of Grizzly, rotating up the backside of White, swung out from the garage door onto the player, onto the windows, I believe that was. So that's going to be a big bit of a catch on the other side. Benja sort of makes the statement, we're going for this approach. The grenade wasn't cooked, but they can long arm the claw. And they've also obviously got the mute there, who's in a bit of a tight position.
That's two gone. There's just one left now, you know. In terms of hard breach, a grenade tossed in far though. Sloth will find Nave very crucial. Another grenade about to be tossed in from Benja. It's not going to be doing any damage. If it was a bit further, he might have been able to pick up a kill there.
Yeah, Yak's buried behind the bookshelf on the far side. Uno creeping his way up Zulu, and Sloth, once again, is able to find himself driving through. Gorgona gets one, just saw the edge of Yak, and suddenly everything's been pulled away from Na'Vi. Just have Blur on the second story, confirms one. But in a post-plant situation, has a lot more to get through. The sound of an air jab not too far away, so he's got to be cautious on the direction that he takes to not give his position, hoping for audio, hoping for a drift, hoping for a catch on a player, but nothing is handed to him. There's a bit of a spray round on the door there outside Christmas door. They don't have to get too aggressive. And, well, they're at least going to make a statement. He slipped his way through, but not very far. They retook verticality and took the round 2 in a row for Heroic.
There was a lot of ground for him to cover there. He needed to basically push throughout the entirety of that site after he abrupted the gunfight with the player outside, the Finker. And indeed, 2-1 for Heroic. They're in that lead, a position they would like to be in, because for a long time they were in the lead of the league. And that's slowly starting to shift away. You see it in the live rankings, though. If they do manage to win, they will be in 3rd position. For Na'Vi, they'll be stuck in 8th. Now, I've actually heard Fresh say this on the desk, I believe.
It's not about hair
I'm not
dye.
sure if it was right before. It was not about hair dye.
Oh, okay.
No.
Because he's already got a colour.
Yeah. Has he picked it?
What?
The color. Like, I mean, there's multiple blues.
I don't know what brand he's using.
I was going to say, like, there's multiple colors of blues. Like,
EUL blue.
EUL blue?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You're going to get some yellow tints in there as well. Make sure you do the Phoenix.
Yeah.
Cool. But what I wanted to go for is that they can actually drop down to 7 or 8 position depending on round differential Heroic. If they lose this. Yes. Well, that's where I was going, but then you set her down.
Yeah, well,
I was like, no.
I had to segue into a joke.
That's fine.
Otherwise, why am I here?
Just to suffer.
Suffer. Heroic. Lost the first, a bit of a slower start, and here we're starting to see them start. Benja, he's been able to drive himself in with the finger. We've seen him on a couple of different rounds looking for that early engagement, which is important because when Heroic were flying their highest, he was often the one with that sort of flag of MVP across those couple of games. Sure, we see a balance from that team, and all of them have had moments in the sort of outstanding performances, but he has been one of their most consistently outstanding players.
There's a castle right behind the castle barricade. It's Nave. We've seen quite some grenades roll in and roll through, so you actually need to be a bit careful here. If that grenade suddenly just rolls right underneath that castle barricade, as soon as he's on that drone, that could just be two birds with one stone. That rhymed, not intentionally.
Spray round. Onto the corner, looking for the pop of control here over the verticality. As we said, it's the most, or one of the most important parts. We saw the play on the plant before. We saw the pressure that came through. There's Blur with an idea, and there's a couple of grenades to find Skiddy. You can't really prevent that. Just saw the edge. Nath hoped that they would lean back in, but isn't going to double down. They know that they have the body disadvantage. There's no point to try and take a disadvantaged fight. Goes for quite a dangerous sprint there, whether that was watched by the camera to ensure he wasn't caught. He almost was. Gorgona finds Blur, though, and now that man's isolated inside the bathroom. Has to swing his way out in the midst of a firefight. Won't get very far. Runo had that entirely on lock. Now Heroic are starting to have that five-sided swipe. Yak looking for a spray down either side, but is entirely boxed out by Benja. Thunder all that's left.
And there's none left. It's a flawless round coming through from Heroic. Again, started slow as you said, but now starting to come back. They want that major spot. They want to qualify. They want it to come down to that final Playday where they meet G2 and where it will be decided in between. And potentially, of course, BDS still out there, could come in and suddenly sweep it all up. But it is going to be a very exciting final Playday. Heroic is just trying to do whatever they can within their own power to put themselves in the best position possible, which is those 15 points. Equalize with M&M, who were unable to qualify today, unable to find themselves secure. And now, this is 3-1, a good start for Heroic.
If we have 5 teams on 15 points by the end of the last Playday, I'm going to be so mad.
See, I'm not going to be as unbearable as other people would be.
5, it's a possibility. And it's a possibility as well that even with those results, just 2 of the 5 obviously take the 3rd and the 4th spot.
Yeah, no, it will be very much possible that we still have BDS, Wolves, G2, and Rogue go to the major.
Yeah, it's not locked. And obviously M&M technically have the shortest distance. They have to just get 1 round against Pwns, and this game is still in play. Let's not forget, it's only a couple of rounds in. But you just, when you're this close to the end, you sort of have that finality idea of, if people were talking about NAL being close, which it was, the fact that we could have 5 teams on the same points and it's separated by round difference, and 2 of them are our major combatants. That's close.
This is where I hoped head-to-head was still in place. So, you know, you have that little
then we wouldn't solve it.
head breaker. I mean, it's easy to be solved. Just takes a bit more time rather than the round differential. I was actually going to say the sense out here can be very good to see. It's always fun to see teams bring new operators to see how they can be implemented into the meta.
Well, there's a way. Benja's looking for a fight. Don't know if they expected it to roll that way.
Ooh.
He's gotten past somebody and swung around onto the water and then finds the second. A little cheeky slow 360. Did lose Uno in the mix of it, but the Sensors done their work. Blur, can you find Capital? Do they know you're there? Yes, is the answer. Gorgona very quickly gives me that, and now Skiddy is under the bat of pressure here onto Coat. Check, his check. Handed in. They've reclaimed the territory, and once again, we are watching a single Na'Vi player trying to hold off against multiple Heroic. Finds the first, Nath with a spray down. Gorgona has the kit. Now they know where he is. They could try and slip it past and go for a plant on the far side. There's a minute 20. There's more than enough time for them to go for this, or will they try and find a fight?
Oh, softball.
Oh, that was like when you go and see like a 4D movie.
Yeah, it's going right at him, and then also explodes. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen in the cinemas usually, but Get used to the sense there, Emmy. Really liked how they... Exactly. Cue the dramatic piano music. It'd be very cool if we had a piano just sitting in that corner and we could just...
No, because... Well,
here it has again, by the way, light screen play.
it's great.
It's like, do I go for... No, I go for the person behind the bar.
It was
that allows Capital to come in.
Well, that was it. They had the pressure of Capital at the same time.
Yeah.
From the double window by the dining area. They made sure that there was attention being paid across the board. It's sharp from Heroic. These attacks, these approaches have been well put together. It's something we talked about in the earlier Cafe game, where if you're attacking Cafe, you have to be still a little bit technical. Sure, you want a great thinker player and you want them to do the business, and Ben just been able to get in. But it becomes a little bit more isolating than some of the other maps. It becomes a little bit more structured. There's a lot of ways you could be taken out by traditional rat angles or little plays in corners. It's tricky at points. And here, Heroic, they're striking really well.
Benja currently in this league, 87 kills so far. One of the other players that has the opportunity to break the ceiling of 100 in a stage. If he continues to perform like this. I mean, it's only round 6 now, already 6 on the board, and he still needs to play this one. So, could definitely be up for some good performance here. And for sure, the rookies have been doing quite well if you look at it. Mowgli, Savage, Skitty, Benja, Spoit, all performing really well in the European League so far.
Navi taking their time out. Taking a bit of time here. Blur's on an adventure, but checking for a couple of drones to see if he gets caught out. Heroic, they are on an adventure, and it's a quick-paced one here towards the pressure of Cigar, the opening minute, and they're looking at trying to drive some of this fight across the front. They have, obviously, the Flores drone. They can try and put the pressure towards the shield. And as that drone gets the read and the intel on the player playing in that position, Skitty, he's going to actually pull himself back. Not going to sit around too long, because it's only a moment later that they're probably going to suffer the wrong end of the pressure.
Oh, the EMP coming through. It's going to just temporarily disable it. We'll soon get back underway. However, no longer controlled, so it will just detonate in the spot there. As there it comes. The next Rotero coming around the corner will be taking care of that. Shields are definitely going to be a unplayable position now, Pixel. You don't want to be there anymore. No protection from grenades. And there's a lot of utility from the Zofus being shot that way. Some bullets are being sent back, but none will connect.
They have the Maverick hole, they have the slip through, and now they're going to see if they can get the grenade round onto the corner.
2 ADSs.
Yeah, pop back into life. That one is going to get caught out. So does that one. And at this point, you've got to send one more to have it locked in, but it's already that sunk cost fallacy of how many have you thrown.
It's back up now, so...
That's it. So now they're looking for the angle, the pre-fire through. They're hoping to catch the back so they cannot rotate out of the bathroom and might be able to just do that, actually. Wow. Takes the idea, takes the angle. Benja couldn't fire any quicker if he wanted to, and Nate couldn't fire at all.
And with that, they suddenly cleared out 2 small rooms up across the top as well. Grenades are being tossed in, but there's no one in the freezer. He's on the plank style. One onto the white stairs as well. One near the cocktail, coming up aggressive. Thunder with the SMG finding a kill.
Well, there's a spray around the back. Navi have the body advantage. Yak goes down, but they're holding onto the angles and waiting 15 seconds, and it's getting closer and closer to the second Navi round at this point. Uno looks away at the worst possible time. Grizzly at least finds it back, but now he is all that's left. Trying to find the first, cannot. And there it is. After about 5 grenades being sacrificed to those 2 ADSs, Navi are able to take the round.
Navi able to take the round indeed. Heroic, actually, they put up so much pressure. I mean, they opened up the walls, right, at those 2 positions. They cleared out the bathroom, didn't completely clear out freezer because it was retaken after. But then they pushed up the white hallway with quite a bunch of people. No support in from the window at that time because the rappel was still underway. But I was just wondering, everybody was on the white side for the defenders as well. We had 2 on planks. We had 1 on white stairs. Like, you could have just gone in from the other side and went for a plan on the default spot. No one would have even be able to reply to it at that given moment in time, especially not with the cover that could have been there. But of course, they wanted to make sure the kills are coming through. Time was running low. You had no room for error in those kind of plant situations. And a 4-2 split, it's not so bad for Heroic. Navi still has an opportunity to fight here with that as well because they have 2 rounds. But now we'll be on the attack. against Heroic, a very experienced team in the European League by now. I know it's weird to say because they've only been in for 2... Well, this is their second year, let's put it up like that. They've been to a major. They got Uno on board, who is a very experienced player. And overall, little changes made to their roster. Whereas Navi, for example, has quite a lot. That's a jump out and a half.
They doubled the jump out there. Benja and Grizzly find 1 each. Uno does go down in it.
That was a triple.
Where did Grizzly come from?
That might have been wedding window, possibly. That's what I think. So wedding window and 2 jump outs. Or small bakery window, whatever you want to call it.
I mean,
it's a good start for Heroic.
It's tough start to argue with. Sure, they lose Uno, but you look at what they've taken out. The Sledge for a bit of a lead, and those grenades, half of them now off the board, and then also your hard destruction. You're going for a site. Sure, it doesn't necessarily
There we go.
necessarily require it. But if you're looking at either the approach from the pillar side on that wall or maybe just getting yourself some width, it sure is nice, especially if you're looking at the long pressure across the top here. It's awkward now for Navi to make this approach.
There is no piano control. Blur is around in the trains. The hatch could be crucial here. They could shut down the Finca. I don't know what this EMP is meant to do. I mean, he's meant to take out some of the utility, but I'm just wondering what's on the other side of it.
Yak has actually pulled off the idea. Gonna head open.
He tossed it.
Make that window a little bit more awkward as they actually slip their way through towards the site. Blur wants to see if he can get the early catch in the angle. There is a player tucked in behind the bookshelf, but at what point do you make your presence known? Or who's going to get known first? It just takes a glance, a sight. Gogona with a bit of width here. Have they got the spot? There's the reveal. There's the player. Wants him to lean in, and there it is. The spray round the top. Gogona is the one that comes out on top. A 3 versus 2. They did at least find 1 against it. Yak with the kit is going to see if they can rotate their way around, but they're going to come up the bottom of white by the looks of it.
Blur cannot afford to lose those gunfights there. He had the information. He had the LMG against a pretty high kick MX4 Storm on that range. But Navi, they need to reconsider now. It's a drop through the laundry hatch. A bit of damage done to Grizzly, but nothing lethal yet. One of the players coming up onto the white stairs, Thunder in 90. They need to isolate these players. Are they going to be able to do so?
Yak is trying to find a way through with the kit. They just want to find a place to safely tuck. Now it's probably not going to happen. Only 1 left. Ducks around the corner and gets a great take there, but 10 seconds to find 2 more players. They're knocking their way back into the site. One's tucked around on the right-hand side. The pre-fire gets a connection. The last, he's out of there. It's 5 seconds. Gonna pop the fire there, but they've already rotated onto Zulu. The ping's the reveal. No nice.
The time runs out. He walked through the alibi prisma there, Emmy, and that starts pinging your position at that moment in time. If you're standing still too long, then you're going to be planting together with that sound cue. So just stayed back, didn't have to go for the push. And we find ourselves at 5-2. Navi slowly seeing their dream of making it to Berlin slip away. 1 more round, if Heroic gets it, means that Navi is out of the running. Means that Navi is going to be unable to fight for it. And it's going to put Heroic into a bit of a better position because they will get an extra point over all those teams currently on 12. You know what? They might even get 3. Put themselves equal with M&M. And then suddenly M&M not being able to find those 6 rounds today could be coming in quite costly as they would find themselves right into the line of fire.
I mean, if I'm going to say that we've seen some underdog victories throughout the day today, this one is starting to look less and less like anything other than what was predicted. Navi, they haven't quite been able to dig into Heroic's game. It's not been an entire wash, 5-2, but, you know, we've seen some mixes of close to flawless on their attack to there, where it did boil down to a 1 versus 1 after a 3-person peek out of those windows, 2 of them physically, 1 of them. When so many people jump out and rush out at the start of the round that you're trying to piece together exactly how many windows they peeked from, that means that they're really trying.
It's like
they're trying.
How do you even process that? Like 3 people jumping out at the same time. It's like, I guess it's just target practice to some extent, but also they're shooting back at you. Either way, 5-2. 2 more rounds for Heroic, and to find themselves at 15. Benja having a pretty good game so far as well. Oh, that could be... where did it go? Okay, no, they didn't land just close enough to the sledge.
Yeah, the sledge watched it come up and backed away from it towards the vents. He was safe. It came out at a bit of an angle.
It's another jump out.
It wasn't backed in. Benja.
It definitely is.
Benja.
He needs to know he's on there.
He wants to.
As soon as he realizes, he will be jumping.
Thirsting for it. Goes for the spray over the top. Can't see it. Sees the movement. There's a drone at his feet. And now that castle's popped open. He has slightly less options. So he's just going to fall down the hatch.
Tossed out a Magno right beforehand as well, just to make sure that any grenade following him would not be reaching. Opens up the window as well and dining. You might be wondering, why did he do that? He's not peeking it. It's just to make a bit of pressure happen onto the Sophia, onto Thunder that is repelled up onto the southern window there. So he doesn't feel as safe playing there. And also opens up the opportunity for a jump out on Heroic. Now, I doubt they would go for that. They probably would be opening up the doorway of Garage if they wanted to go for a swing on south. But of course, not happening as they're off it. Still NAVI though, on top of these windows here, just looking through these long angles, deploying air jabs left, right, and center. Grenades are being tossed in as well, but won't be finding any victims.
Yeah, just hopped up on that. Gives him a bit of safety. Don't get on your tables at home, folks, unless grenades are being rolled towards your feet. Then it's probably a better option. Here, though, Gorgona has an option. And the sound of just that creeping, lurking air jab. Nath is tucked on the potential swing of, I believe, 90. So if he pays any close attention towards it, he might find close attention paid back. He's just watching the approach from Cigar Door, hoping somebody slips their way in. They have some eyes here across the other side. They're trying to weigh up the options. 40 seconds. Time to think. There's that mirror flirting with the idea of width. But again, it's just not wanting to hand them the free kill.
I like how they've opened up these holes so low because it doesn't allow these attackers that are walking in to fire back, and it allows you to shoot at them as they want to move in at their feet level.
Now as they hold on, Blur, he's watching off to the other side. There it is, inside the site, and finds the header one, gives the grand reveal. I'm here, tucked in a corner, and they're tucked in the plant in round the corner. A bit of a burn and a fight towards Lumber. They just looked away from it. Yak has the cover. We're in a post plant. Skinny drives himself forward. Uno is all that's left, is trying to get the fight from underneath with the shotgun, but he runs out of time as Blur had snuck himself in on the balcony. Snuck out. A surprise take.
He ran out of shells as well. Needed to put new shells into that shotgun because he wasn't able to get the kills. 5-3, Navi will find one back, and that as they get back into it after 45 seconds of talk. 5-3 in the board. And we go towards mining and dining.
Heroic. Taking the time to slow things down. That sort of timeout is one where it's been a bit back and forth over the past 3 rounds. Technically 2 of them are Navi's over this turn of the half. Get the boys' heads back in order. Get them screwed on and break a bit of Navi's momentum. Try and sort of take away from the idea. As said, it's not the stakes that we've had earlier where just overtime counted. It's more than that. They're either drawing up with pretty much every team still in this fight or equaling the one that's at the top of the fight itself. They give themselves more option than just one of the 2 places. Certainly 2 look quite promising, which is pretty wanted.
Of course, it'll be preferred to get the full 3 points. Any point in that case is going to actually be preferred because it gives you more playing space for that final Playday. And Heroic are in that luxury position. I mean, you cannot really call it a luxury position because they wanted to be qualified, but at the same time, they have some of the best papers out here or still being able to make it, especially with this game today, a very important one. Snafe tried to use that drone as a bit of a distraction, hoping someone would fire at it as he follows up. Unable to find the kill. Drone now taken out as well, so no information really gained. Skinny trying to do the exact same thing here on the hatch. Drop these drones in, try and figure out where they are. That's an unfortunate impact there on your face, Thunder. Next time, try and get it through the window.
Yeah, that is just a little bit of a missed moment there, and he's going to suffer on any engagement that comes through unless the Fink is able to pick him up a bit, but they're probably going to hold on to those until Blur gets a little bit deeper into the action at least. Sloth is playing underneath, has a mirror window for the extension and the stretch over towards the site. It's not the most common seen site because it can get a little bit awkward to defend. You're holding on to what is sometimes a thinner bit of verticality with the crossfire the windows offer. The pressure starts to bounce its way through here. You can see that Benja has some concerns, but it's Skitty that suffers the next. Gorgona from that long fight towards 90 sort of flirts with the idea of danger, and that C4 finishes it off.
Fine Skitty, he was already quite low, but, you know, a taken out gun, a taken out sledgehammer worth more than him still being up with just a slither of HP. And that's a return though. Blur will find Grizzly with the LMG. They have a couple of them in play here, and Ash also allowing for some extra breaching charges to be used to get rid of utility or castle barricades. And that's exactly what they will be used for now, just to create these openings. Grenades to be tossed in as well, hoping to find players on planks, but no one there anymore.
Since popped out and moved on, but in the final 50 seconds, it becomes that idea of eyes onto the site. Uno, you can see, is giving them all the information from the side of White Stairs as the pulse. The pressure starts to come through above Sloth. They're forcing them out of the idea of the mirror windows that they have. Benja wants to creep up, but there's
claymores.
Yeah, that's it. There's a claymore here, and then there's a second one a little bit further. Gets the first, waits for the drop and the fire back. They are keeping a bit of an eye, but this wall, it's locked. So he's going to get themselves up. They've dropped and rotated down to the train window itself. Benja, he's going to see if he can retake this verticality. There is just one player up here at this point, and it's a freebie. He's able to take it. There's the planter, drop down as well. 10 seconds, Gorgona's off the floor. They have eyes above the kit. Blur is all that is left at this point. Caught on a default camera, and it's heroic to be on map point.
And with that, Navi now officially out of the running, unable to make it to Berlin. And it is one less opponent Heroic needs to fight through over that last Playday. They eliminated Navi themselves. Now let's see if they can finish the job. So they're headed towards kitchen service and cooking. See, I said it in one go now, so it's not the dramatic pause in between.
Nice.
To see if they can finish it off, if they can get that match point, or if they might need 1 or 2 extra rounds before they find themselves at a 3-pointer. This C4 though, it's like
just caught the end of Skitty. Obviously Skitty massively low health already, but it sometimes siege timings work in your favor. Obviously when he threw that, the player was in a position. This play, getting up past the 2 claymores, the rotation at the time that it happened. I mean, Benja's just been a problem throughout this whole game. He doesn't have the most crazy KD for the plays he's been making, but the plays he's been making has been so problematic for Navi's setup. You're looking at his part in the triple jump out, the rotations he was making, the pressure he was putting forward as the thinker and their opening attacks. He has consistently just sort of been there, and being there is such a problem.
I mean, he's currently 90 on 76 out there to say, or 67, no, 76, 67. 67, there we go. Sorry, I was confused with the numbers. So this KD is actually pretty good, and he's starting to shape up like the top of the league as well at the very same time. So Benja, even though he doesn't like drop the 17 kills we saw Spoit drop earlier today, he's still very consistent force for the side of Heroic, keeping them in many games, winning them rounds on his own as well every now and then.
Same time, Sloth sitting there, 8-4. He's made sure he's having a couple of responses here for all the moments that need it. And that's the thing about Heroic, is they've sort of got, when they're on their day, that 5-sided sharpness. All of them have that ability to react and get into it. Navi, so far, it's sort of been an individual pop-off round or a moment, and then little pockets of silence, unfortunately. They have 3 rounds they've got to try and pull back. Uno almost suffers, going for a bit of an adventure outside. Blur was holding it with the gadget, waiting for maybe an approach here, but at this point, they're the ones that need to put pressure onto us.
I mean, it was a yokai drone outside from Gorgona, basically underneath the SWAT truck there, so they were going quite aggressive with it. Eventually got taken out. I believe he might still have one left eventually to stop any plans from going through. Navi is working on making sure none of these flanks are starting to come up. You know, you had these claymores taken out the last time by Benja, 1 by 1. Now it's going to be a bunch of track stingers he needs to be firing through. It's going to be making a lot more noise, as Blur is doing the complete opposite, using the health sensor to start pushing down, hopes to find someone on the side, but is unable to find the angle in time.
That's it now, as people start to get shepherded and pushed by Skitty, doing some of the groundwork above. As you said, Blur's in a prime position to catch the rotation and potentially the Wamai if he drifts his way back, but there's still 2 bodies inside the bakery. The smokes, well, they put a little bit of pressure. Gorgona is on a sliver, a beam, and a pillar of support, but they haven't been able to force either of these 2 players out yet. If they can make the catch, then it's 2, because they don't have a lot working for them other than each other. You find one and suddenly the other is massively vulnerable, but they have to find one, and that's that risk, that's that cost that they're trying to drone out at this point. They're keeping all eyes closed. Benja, he's rotating up, takes some of the track stingers instead of destroying them to make the noise. Will he get the drop on the player? No one's above the hatch. He might come back to that later. Uno finally goes down. There's the second. Thunder gets the spray. There's the lockdown. There's the second fight. Benja is able to take care of it. They're going to drop their way down to the site itself. Gorgona still inside the bakery. Dropped. Yak now just needs to try and drive this kid home. They're looking for the fight onto the stairs. Just finds it. It's Benja with a triple. There's only a handful of seconds. There's the spray down towards the kid. The kid's cold. He's on a quad. There's 2 seconds. There's heroic.
Benja Monster!
Benja Monster!
He clutches it. 1-5. He doesn't get that final kill, but that doesn't matter. There was no time. He stayed put. He didn't give him an opportunity to get that final kill with the pistol, and is not quite to qualify them for Berlin yet. But they've definitely done everything they could today to put themselves in the best possible position next Monday.